Hi, friends. I'm Jason, and welcome to the 60 Days to Hire Network. If you're joining on YouTube, thank you. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And below this video is your link to your free membership to the 60 Days to Hire community. Please join us and share it with a friend, somebody who may be in need of some support if they're in a job they don't care for, or perhaps they're in a position where things are a little wonky at work, just not sure which way they're going to go. Remember, as a community, we can all help and support each other. If you want to get into more detail, I offer tips and tricks from this meeting through my Substack newsletter and through my daily notes. And I also put together a short article which breaks everything down to a couple of hundred words that we're going to talk about tonight. And you can find that on my Medium profile under Jason Small here. Well, what do you say we get started? Tonight, we're going to talk about how to target the right person. You see, when you're looking for a job, it's not so much about sending out resumes and spraying and praying, as we call it in the marketing space. It's about doing things with intention. Think of it as hunting with a laser beam. And there are ways to do this more effectively than some others, and these are some of the things that are set you apart. The first thing you need to figure out is who the main decision maker is. Who's the person who's going to give the thumbs up or the thumbs down about you for a particular role? I'm going to give you a hint. It is not human resources, and it is not the recruiter. Depending on the business, those folks spend all day, if you're an HR, worried about other human resources functions and talking to candidates. And if you're a professional recruiter, you have a lot of jobs that you are trying to fill for a variety of different markets, for a variety of different managers. I promise you, when you talk to a recruiter, you are pretty darn close to being just a number. But that's okay. These are the folks you need to keep on your side, because when it does come to an offer, a lot of the times they're going to be the one making it on behalf of somebody else. But big picture, HR or a professional recruiter, they're just a gatekeeper. No disrespect to those recruiters who are part of the 60 Days to Hire network, but at the end of the day, you're doing a job for somebody else. But what I want you to do is to cut to the head of the line and find out who that hiring manager is and have a conversation with them. And you can do this in a couple of ways. I'm going to go through a way that you can use some internet tools and some AI technology to get you right to the head of the line. For starters, determine the role that you want to apply for. Is it a marketing associate? Is it a personnel manager? Maybe it's a social media analyst or something like that. Find the job, find it, whether it's online or whether it's someplace else on a company website. But I want you to find the job, and then I want you to see if it tells you who you're reporting to. And some roles it'll say reports to the director of marketing or reports to the head server. If you can find something that is just that easy, then the next step is finding the phone number and asking to speak with the marketing director or the head server or something like that. They're probably not going to be available, so that's okay. Can you give me their email address and maybe a phone number, because I want to send them some information, okay? Or you want to ask them a few questions. We're going to come back to that here in just a minute. Now, maybe you don't have something that's just that easy for you. Here's where you're going to pull up your AI writing buddy. I want you to log into your favorite AI tool, whatever it is, and then I want you to say, hey, you don't have to put the hey in there, I'm applying for the role as a social media analyst. Who would be my direct report manager? What is their title? And it's going to give you a couple of different options. It might be a director of marketing. It might be a marketing manager. But figure out what title that person has. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to seek that person out for whichever company you're looking for. So if you're looking for the director of marketing for Google, get on LinkedIn and start looking for Google people who fit the role of director of marketing. Now, this takes a little bit of research. These things aren't going to be just handed to you, but trust me, the payoff is there. When you find out who that person is, depending on whether you're looking on just the regular wide open internet or something like LinkedIn, you're probably going to get handed with some type of contact information. Some people put their phone number and their email address right there on their LinkedIn profile. Sometimes you have to root into their profile, or sometimes you have to send them a DM, a direct message. That's okay. Once you know who you're talking to, things are going to start to fall into place. I want you to reach out to this person directly. If you can, make a phone call. It's a lot nicer to have real contact instead of you just being one of many emails. I get hundreds of emails a day. I can't remember the last one I got, let alone one from the middle of the day. But if you can get on the phone with somebody, it makes a much bigger impact. If you have to send an email, if that's all you have, that's okay too. At least I want you to start the conversation and keep this conversation going. Then, once you've reached out to that person, I want you to tell them why you're reaching out to them. My name is Jason. I'm thinking of applying for your role as a social media analyst, but I have some questions and I was hoping you could steer me in the right direction. And then tell them you only have 3 questions for them, just 3. One of which would be, what would you say, Mr. or Mrs. Leader, is the most immediate need that you have for this person in this role? And they'll tell you whether to increase sales or to increase engagement or reduce costs or to bus 20 more tables a day, whatever that is. That's great. The next question you're going to ask is, excuse me, what would you say about this role that's going to make it really rewarding for me? And they'll tell you, oh, it's a career development piece, or you're going to learn how to do social media using a variety of different platforms, or you're going to be able to clear tables just pulling the tablecloth off, or something like that. Then the third question I want you to ask them is, what are some of the biggest challenges I'm going to face in my first 90 days? And they'll tell you maybe it's growing the sales team, or maybe there's a culture that needs to be rebuilt, or maybe you have to replace somebody who's been there for 100 years and you've got a lot of brand equity to catch up on. Any way you slice it, you're just going to ask 3 questions, but you're positioning yourself as an engaged potential hire who really wants to lean into this job instead of just sending applications out because you have to. Remember, interviewing for a job seeking, it's a two-way street. You're interviewing the company just as much as they're interviewing you. So you want to make sure you're making the right decision. So see what kind of response you get. Now, if you get no response, that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. But when you get a response, whether it's over a phone call, whether it's over an email or a text message, you're at some point going to get contact information from the person who would be your new leader. Thank them for their time, thank them for their answers, and then say that you'll let them know if you're sending in an application in the next 24 hours, okay? Even if you know right away, heck yes, I want this job, let them know, because what you're doing is you're opening up the door for another touch point. So the next day you send an email or a text message or make that phone call. Jason, thanks a lot for chatting with me yesterday. I want you to know your role really excites me, and I have formally submitted my application. I look forward to having a deeper conversation with you in the near future. Is that something you want to set up now? This goes back to some of the sales tactics that we've talked about, because you're maintaining control of the conversation. They may defer all scheduling to the recruiter, and that's okay. What you've done is you've put your name, your voice, your face in the mind of that hiring manager, and automatically you're higher up on the line than somebody who's just a faceless resume. Quite possibly the boss is going to say to the recruiter, hey, I want ABC person's resume, or tell me about ABC, or do a screening call with ABC. I can tell you, when people would reach out to me and I'd remember them when they had some thoughtful questions and good feedback and a pretty good resume, not necessarily an expert resume, but a pretty good resume, I will tell my recruiter, hey, I want to talk to person ABC. Can you go through a pre-screening call and see if they're a match on the surface? And that pre-screening call is going to be things like availability. You know, what's the salary requirements that person's going to have? Are there any particular software systems you may have a level of proficiency with? Some of the high overview stuff. And again, it's important there, if you have a job that says, hey, entry to medium level, it's probably going to pay you $40,000 a year. And the screening call, you say, I want $150,000 a year. There's a pretty big gap there. And it probably wouldn't be worth the hiring manager's time to talk to somebody who wants mid-manager to senior manager money on an entry-level job. That's what the recruiter's for. But if those stars do align, it's a great opportunity to get right into the boss's head and in the recruiter's head and start fluid conversations. When you do send them a note back, even if you decide not to apply, hey, decided this role is not the best fit for me, but I certainly thank you for your time. Can we stay in touch? Perhaps we can support each other in the future. You can send them that email. You can leave them a voicemail. You can even send them that direct message on LinkedIn. And then you're keeping your prospect list, your pipeline list, very deep of people who you're probably going to want to work with at some point in the future. Look, it is extremely valuable to have people who have authority in your contact list, even if it's not at a company that you're working at, because chances are they know somebody who may know somebody who can help you out, or they may say a great word to somebody they know that's looking for somebody just like you and facilitate a role that way. And we'll talk more about how to stay in touch with the right people in the next couple of weeks. Next week, my friends, we're going to talk about market research and how to use artificial intelligence to determine what roles are hot right now, what those roles are paying, the type of companies that are hiring for them, and how you can put together a killer resume and cover letter and get in on the ground floor before, well, you're a has-been. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'll talk to you next time. Make it a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.